You know, there's a hidden world right in front of us where the most powerful people on the planet meet. It's a place where the rules of law, of decency, of humanity, they just don't apply. Well, that hidden world has just been blown wide open. Let's try and make sense of this whole mess.
There's this famous line in an Indian movie, Page 3, that goes, "This is the city's gutter. It's better if it remains closed." That idea has become a terrifying global reality. The only difference is, this gutter doesn't just hold a city's secrets, it's filled with the filth of the world's elite. You've got billionaires, presidents, princes, and even celebrated scientists who really thought they were gods.
And now, the lid has been blown clean off. Just recently, a mind-boggling 3.5 million pages and 1.8 million photos were unsealed. And what came spilling out was a cesspool of depravity that has absolutely rocked the world, revealing the absolute darkest secrets of people we thought we knew.
Okay, so to make sense of this huge, sprawling network of deceit, we're going to break it down. Think of it like a series of case files. We'll look at the elite secrets in these unsealed files, kick things off with the tech titans who are under fire, then the presidents who held all the power, some icons of science and royalty, and even a surprising connection to India. And then we'll ask the biggest question of all. In a world of truth and lies, can we actually get justice?
So, our first case file cracks open with two of the biggest names in tech. I'm talking about visionaries who promised to save humanity and, take us to Mars. But these files suggest they were looking for something way, way different right here on Earth.
I mean, just look at this. The contrast is absolutely jarring. On one side, you have Bill Gates, the guy who spent decades building this image as humanity's savior, and on the other, the Epstein Files paint this picture of a man who was allegedly compromised, totally desperate, and caught in a web he made himself.
So, according to 7 pretty sensational email drafts written by Epstein himself, the claims are, well, they're explosive. They allege that Gates had a relationship with Russian girls and that he contracted a sexually transmitted disease. The emails then claim Gates was so terrified of his wife Melinda finding out that he was begging a criminal like Epstein for a secret cure. Now, Gates' team says these are just the desperate lies of a dead man.
But here's the thing. This quote from his ex-wife Melinda Gates makes it really hard to just dismiss everything. She publicly said that Bill's relationship with Epstein was one of the reasons for their divorce. It kind of forces you to ask, was the world's greatest philanthropist living this dangerous double life that left him wide open to blackmail?
And the story just keeps going with another tech titan, Elon Musk. You know the image. He's relentlessly focused, a total workaholic whose only real passion is getting humanity to Mars. Right, his public persona is all about this almost monk-like dedication to work. So, what happens when we take a peek at his private messages, buried deep inside the Epstein Files?
Well, the emails show a completely different side. In November 2012, Musk apparently wrote that he was, quote, frustrated with work and wanted to enjoy himself at the wildest party on Epstein's island. Now, Musk has denied over and over again ever even visiting the island, but these emails show he was clearly interested in the party scene. And the whole thing gets even weirder when you see that infamous photo of him with Ghislaine Maxwell, a picture he swears was just a photobomb.
All right, so from the titans of tech, we are now turning to the highest office in the world, the American presidency. These files pull the curtain back on two of its most famous modern occupants, Donald Trump and Bill Clinton, and they suggest their connections to Epstein were way more than just casual.
14. Let that number sink in. That's how many separate, private phone numbers for Donald Trump were found in Epstein's notorious Black Book, his private Rolodex of powerful people. This wasn't just some casual acquaintance. This suggests a level of close, constant, and private contact that was way beyond what anyone knew about publicly.
And the allegations against Trump are really severe. Emails in the files describe their relationship as a dirty, deep alliance. The most shocking claim is that a foreign sheikh offered Trump a virgin girl as a gift, which he supposedly accepted. His name shows up over 1,000 times in flight logs, and witness testimony puts him at Epstein's Palm Beach house, a central hub for all these activities all the time.
And he's not the only president caught up in this. That number, 26. That is the number of times former President Bill Clinton flew on Epstein's private jet, a jet that investigators infamously nicknamed the Lolita Express because of allegations that underage girls were being flown on it. 26 separate trips.
Clinton's name appears thousands of times throughout all these documents. This has just fueled theories that Epstein wasn't just a friend,
but maybe an operative who had compromising material, blackmail, to control and influence American politics at the highest level. So was one of the most powerful men in the world just a naive passenger, or was he a willing participant in this horrifying web of power and exploitation? Look, if presidents and billionaires weren't shocking enough for you, this next file takes us to the absolute top of human intellect and aristocracy. And for a lot of people, these are the most disturbing revelations of all.
Of all the names, I think Stephen Hawking's was the one that just stunned everyone. Here's a man revered like a god of knowledge, a symbol of the human mind triumphing over physical limits. But the files have witness testimony alleging he visited Epstein's island and took part in some really disturbing activities, including watching undressed minors. Was the man who taught us about black holes caught in a moral black hole himself?
Now, there is a counterargument. Some experts think Hawking was basically used as a pawn. By funding his research and flying him out to the island for conferences, Epstein could make his island of sin look like a legitimate place for intellectuals. He was using Hawking's spotless reputation as the perfect cover for his dirty business.
And then you have royalty. The documents refer to Prince Andrew not just as a guest, but as a regular and special guest. There are messages describing Epstein sending girls to the Duke like they were just packages. Victims have testified that he used his royal status to intimidate and terrify them. And of course there's the photograph, the one he claimed for years was a fake, with his arm around a 17-year-old victim. That photo is now verified as authentic.
For a lot of us, this whole story felt like it was happening a world away. But these recently unsealed files brought the whole controversy crashing right into India, with a couple of very high-profile names showing up in the documents.
The acclaimed filmmaker Mira Nair's name came up in connection with a 2009 party at Ghislaine Maxwell's place in New York. Now, her defenders say, hey, attending parties is just part of networking in the film world. But her being there has sparked this vicious online campaign against her son, with trolls calling him an Epstein baby in these cruel, politically motivated attacks.
And then we have maybe the most bizarre entry of all, involving India's Prime Minister, Narendra Modi. In an email from 2017, Epstein made this really outlandish claim that during a trip to Israel, PM Modi had danced and sang to benefit the United States. A strange claim for sure, but it was immediately grabbed by his political opponents.
The official response came, and it was fast. India's Ministry of External Affairs just called the email garbage and the delusional ramblings of a criminal. And this actually points to a key tactic of Epstein's. Experts say he was constantly name-dropping world leaders to create this false sense of importance, making himself seem way more powerful than he really was.
So, after wading through the tech titans, the presidents, the scientists, and the royals, we're left with the biggest questions of all. How on earth could this happen? And now that we know, what happens next?
See, this wasn't the work of just one man. It was a whole system. Step 1 was blackmail. Hidden cameras, secret tunnels on his properties recorded absolutely everything, giving him leverage. Step 2 was the enabler. Ghislaine Maxwell used her status as a woman to lure vulnerable young girls with fake promises of money and careers. And Step 3 was protection. The file suggests that police, judges, even major newspapers were paid to look the other way, letting this whole network operate for decades.
At the end of the day, the truth, or at least a horrifying piece of it, is finally out. We've seen the names, we've read the allegations, but the most powerful people on this list remain untouched, just carrying on like nothing ever happened. These files aren't just a list of names, they are a fundamental betrayal of the trust we put in our leaders. And it leaves us with one final haunting question. Will wealth and power once again manage to triumph over justice?